Now, I don't see myself as a conspiracy theorist. If you knew where that term originated from, then you would understand. But I'm more of a things aren't adding up and it's pretty obvious kind of theorist. And it's pretty obvious. Once again, something is not adding up. Something just does not smell right. Now, around election time, political football really starts to ramp up. New tactics are released, and unfortunately, we are stuck in the middle. There always seems to be an October surprise. Something happens in August, it starts to build up in September, and then it's fully blown up in October. And one of the leading theories about the October surprise was the return of C19 level lockdowns, C19 level mandates. And we were told this is crazy talk, that is not going to happen. C19 is currently under control. Well, now we have the rise of 3 new variants. Not 1, not 2, but 3. With Eris or Iris being the most contagious out of all 3 of them. And these new viruses are popping up at rapid rates only months after code enforcers have found illegal Chinese labs where they had bottles upon bottles of different viruses, including different variants of C19. It was also found that the same lab had pregnancy tests and C19 tests laced with these viruses. So it's more than likely if you were to stick one of these tests up your nose, or you're going to take a pregnancy test, you're going to get one of these viruses and then you're going to pass it along. Now, they said anyway that a lot of these tests were destroyed, but it's awfully funny how the Chinese have an interest in our election cycle, that a lot of these were shipped out right before election year. And as I said previously, I do not believe in coincidences. Flash forward, we get a leak from TSA. A TSA whistleblower said during a meeting in September, they're going to bring back C19 level mandates. They're going to bring back masks, social distancing. And this all sounds crazy until you start to see that other places are now bringing back the mandates. We have colleges requiring social distancing. No more large party gatherings. You have to wear a mask if you're around other people. We're now seeing colleges disenroll those who are not jabbed up. We're also seeing Hollywood, big-time studios, also now bringing back the mask mandates, the social distancing mandates. Now, this has not been said yet. This has not been leaked yet, so you're hearing this first from Minutes of Horror. And this is only going from past events. First was that we had to wear a mask. And then we had to socially distance. We had to be 6 feet apart. We saw those little stickers inside stores. Next, we will be required to jab in order to travel, because that's how it played out before. If you wanted to get on an airplane or go to certain places, you had to be jabbed. You had to prove that you had the jab. So they are definitely going to bring that back, and it makes a lot of sense. Project NextGen awarded over $1.4 billion to develop the future of C19 jabs and therapeutics. On the website, it says, as the virus continues to evolve, we will need new tools to keep up with the pace of those changes. And yet, we have 3 new variants, with 1 being very, very dangerous. So of course, they're going to want to bring back the jab, mandated jabs. They're going to have our jobs being dangled over us, our careers, our livelihoods. We lucked out the first round, but with the spread of 3 new variants, you bet your ass they're going to force you to get jabbed. Stay at home, stop the spread, get jabbed up, and mail in those ballots. Now again, as I said many, many times before, I do not believe in coincidences. So guess who comes out to promote the lockdowns? Dr. Fauci declares lockdowns were absolutely justified and suggests they should be used again to force jabs. And you know what? He is absolutely correct. He is saying the quiet part out loud because no one in their right mind is going to get jabbed up again. So what is the best way to get people jabbed up if they're not going to take it? You have to enforce these lockdowns. You have to enforce that their jobs could be lost, their careers could be lost. And then now you're going to start seeing more and more people take these $1.4 billion awarded jabs.
If we have another big pandemic, disease X, let's say, are we prepared to manage it without shutting down schools and businesses? And for you, are you aware of any state-by-state legislative or financial commitments that are directed towards these resources so that we don't have such long lockdowns?
Yeah. I think, Tina, that we have to separate the advisability of lockdowns and the duration of lockdowns versus the need for better facilities like negative. I think we do need more negative pressure beds and rooms, but I wouldn't overdo it because that's not the answer in itself. I think if we think, okay, you know what we'll do? Every city will get 2 or 3 new hospitals. First of all, financially, it'll never happen. You won't be able to do it. But I don't think that's the solution. But getting back to the important part of your first question, and I think you answered the question partially with your question. And you said that, you know, lockdowns have to have an end game. You have to have a reason to lock down. For example, in New York City, when Elmhurst Hospital was overrun and they were having cooler trucks outside because they had no places to put the bodies, you had to have something to immediately shut down the tsunami of infection. That lockdown was absolutely justified. The real critical question is, what do you do during the lockdown? And when do you stop locking down? So lockdown has a purpose. One of the purposes, if you don't have a vaccine, it's to get more ventilators, get the hospitals better prepared, you know, get more people involved in the healthcare sector to do it until you decompress the pressure on the hospitals, then you can open up. If you have a vaccine available, you might want to lock down temporarily so you can get everybody vaccinated. That was, I think, one of the problems in China. They locked down for a long time, but they didn't effectively vaccinate all of their older people. So when they opened up again, all of the elderly, not all, but many of the elderly people got infected. So lockdowns with a purpose work. It saves lives. You get into a problem if you prolong the lockdown and you don't do what you need to do to reopen. You know, I've always said right from the beginning, even people who are, I think, of ill intent have said the opposite of me, is that I've said from the beginning, once you lock down, you have to start planning about how you're going to reopen. You don't lock down and say, see you around, come back, you know, whenever. You say, I'm locking down. Now, how do I plan to reopen? Reopen the schools, reopen the places of business. And the way you do that is to have a plan about how you're going to protect. For example, in schools, we need better ventilation. Absolutely. One of the things we haven't paid attention to is ventilation.
Well, there you go right there. Lock down, get them all jabbed up, and then we can start to slowly open everything back up again. This is a major win for them because not only is this happening around election time where we now have to mail in our ballots because we are locked down, but this time they're not going to release the lockdown until we are all jabbed up because now we have the spread of 3 new variants. And if you thought lockdown 1.0 was bad, just wait till lockdown 2.0. What you'll be required to have, what you'll be required to get, what proof you are going to be required to show that you are jabbed in order to go to any store, in order to make any purchases, in order to work. The lead up to 2030 is going to be a very wild ride. Thank you so much for watching. If you do like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.